Hey, what up, what up, what up, what up, what up, good people? It's your girl KB. You know what I do and you know why I do it. Uh, I promised to write a sermon this past weekend and I ran out of ticks on the clock. So I'm going to deliver my message as best I can today without my notation. And to be perfectly honest with you, I am too lazy to get up. I've been out and about since the wee hours of this morning. I had a presentation to do at work today, so it's a little bit more pressure in my day than usual. Then I had to stop at Costco after work, so I'm just now settling in and getting something to eat um, because the day was mad crazy hectic. Amen. But you know, I know I'm a little tardy, but allow me to use my Lazarus defense, if you will. In that, Jesus finished doing what he needed to do before he came to see about Lazarus, knowing that the power is going to be in his word regardless of whenever he arrived. Amen. And hopefully the power will be in my word. Um, I heard bits of this message preached in a video, and the rest uh, I is taken from the very first message I ever preached, which is uh, John chapter 4. I'm going to ask you to read it. It's Jesus' encounter with the Samaritan woman. Now, Jews and Samaritans were, I want to say, for lack of a better phrase, bitter enemies. They usually did not associate with one another. And Jesus comes into town. He sent the disciples off to do something. So he comes into town and he's sitting by a well. And it's midday. Now, if you know anything about the culture and the agriculture and the environment, because it was hot and dusty in the middle of the desert, or in the middle of Jerusalem, uh, most people went to the well early in the morning to feed their animals, to do their laundry, and then they got on with the business of their day. But this woman comes to the well at about noon or midday, and she encounters Jesus. And Jesus asks the woman to give him a drink of water. Now, mind you, he's sitting at the well when she arrives. She tells him that she has nothing to retrieve the water from the well. And she comments on this. First, she comments on, why are you talking to me? You're not supposed to talk to Samaritan woman. She automatically recognizes, this is considered a taboo encounter. Then she says, well, I have nothing to draw water with, so, how am I going to provide you a drink? And that got me to thinking. A couple of scriptures came to mind. The 23rd Psalm, where my cup runneth over. Why is the cup running over? Since we're talking about drinking and having something to draw water with. And, as I read and I listened to this other preacher, the cup runneth over. So what's in the cup is yours. What runs over is for other people. What's in your cup is self-care, self-preservation. It's God's message for you. What runneth over is your message to the world by way of God. But this woman comes to the well empty-handed. You can't pour from an empty cup. You can receive a whole lot. Now, as a woman, in this particular historic time, a woman is required to take care of her household, her family, her husband. Why would you come to the well with nothing? And then, if you know an encounter is taboo, why would you engage in it? See, this leads me to think about a whole bunch of things that we do in life. You know, if you know what it feels like to be broken, why would you break someone else? If you know what it's like to thirst, why would you deprive somebody else? You know? Or why would you show up to a well without the implements to provide? And again, it led me back to you cannot pour from an empty cup. If you never received this message or this education, you can't do it. If you don't have the skills, I can't teach out of my realm of experience, if you will. Then, you know, Jesus goes on to minister to this woman. And he says to her, you know, something to the effect of, you should tell your husband. To which the woman said, okay, first of all, you know, this encounter is taboo. And then, you know, you're calling me out. Now I have to respond, you know, because I am talking to you as a, you know, a male. She says, I have no husband. And that gave Jesus the opportunity to say, that's right. You know, you've had many men. And the one that you have now is not your husband. Again, leads me circular back to this point. If you know what it's like to be broken, why would you break somebody else? There's a whole lot going on in this woman's life that brought her to the well. You know, the kids have a saying now about somebody who's like a man trap or a sex trap. They say, you're thirsty. She definitely was, but she was thirsting for living water, which Jesus provided. Then, you know, he reconciled her to himself. Just in that brief encounter. I want to say it was a form of a baptism. That encounter over water. So, hey, I know, long story short, too late for that. You're saying, what's your point? There's several points I'm making. One, we allow principalities to take us out of the will of God, so much so that we find it impossible to get back on our own. It takes an encounter with God to reconcile us. Are you pulling back from that reconciliation? Are you allowing other things to obscure your connection with God? You know, if you think about the woman with the issue of blood, it's how, you know, it's always framed. How she pressed through the crowd knowing that if she could just touch the hem of his garment, there's healing in the low places. Do you think somebody with multiple partners is not low? They're looking for a satisfaction. They're looking for a need to be met. And because they're under the influence of that principality, they're rejecting the things of God left and right. You know, I just heard a preacher say today, you know, that I'm going to frame it as best I can like he framed it. He's afraid of big orgasms. Now, when you hear the word orgasm, you're thinking, oh my God, where's the preacher going with this? He said, they prevent you. The enemy knows that they prevent you from seeing the red flags. The enemy knows that anything that involves your feelings that you have joined yourself to will always keep you out of the will of God. Anything that you lust after, you're latched on to, you're connected to. You know, when they say cuffing season, you think about what that really means. Okay, so now the next point I'm thinking about in this long, short story is the living water. Many of us are busy adding Kool-Aid and sugar and all other things instead of going for that pure, living water. We always have to have a Jesus supplement. Amen. I want you to look at John 4 in its entirety. And again, know that an empty vessel can hold much. But you cannot pour from an empty cup. Also know that when your cup is full and is overflowing, what's inside that cup is for you and your connection to God. The overflow is what you give to other people in the form of ministry, not in the form of you. Amen. Okay, I'm going to flesh this out a little bit more, but that's straight from the cuff. You guys have a wonderful evening.